On the Lamani Islands, they say if the Hollow Mountain sings to you, you should always listen, for the song itself can carry you out to sea. This was, of course, the one place Uprush always wanted to go. Dmitri Zephius gained the nickname Uprush from a young age, as he always displayed a surge of emotion and passion, strong enough to sweep away any who were ill-prepared for his enthusiasm. "He's like an uprush of seawater when he talks," became the easiest way to describe him to seafarers, wondering why an 8-year-old might be hanging out by the docks so often. Aside from his enthusiasm regarding shipfaring, Uprush's mother helped with restocking seafaring ships that would stop by the islands, so meeting seafarers was the norm. This norm for young Uprush was shaken up when a young girl with curly hair made her way onto the island, proclaiming all the world's gold and cookies would be hers someday. From then on, Uprush and the girl nicknamed Cookie would spend their days together fantasizing about being adventurers out on the open sea. Cookie's father would take Uprush under his wing, despite the concerns of Uprush's mother. As he became a man, Uprush gained respect and camaraderie aboard the ship known as the Great White. But Uprush saw a side of the captain no one else quite recognized. Amidst an attempt to convince Cookie to leave the crew with him permanently, Uprush was accused of mutiny, shot in the chest, and left aboard a dinghy to float out at sea. The last thing Uprush heard was the sound of his friend's voice, the splash of the waves, and the sound of the wind's song, all before reaching the unfamiliar shores of Balestone. Chasing away back out onto the open seas, Uprush took up bartending to accrue enough coin and a new crew, all with the hope of reuniting with his dearest friend.
Born to seafaring merchants, Jack and Robin, hailing from Arigian and Kelcary, neither of whom were willing to give up a life on the sea, Hector grew up barely 4 years before returning to the sea for a life of adventure. His youngest mentor in the Clerical Arts was a steward of the drowned, a medic known as Tim Callaghan. Eventually, his parents' honest merchant dealings led them into conflict with a pirate crew of a fearsome captain, where Hector's parents passed away tragically, with barely enough surviving members to crew the ship into the nearest harbor. Hector's friend Tim took him in, a blessing for young Hector that quickly was dashed as he was left with a smile in the main temple of the drowned stewards in the town of Cotton's Creek, to be raised by one Albert Sparrow, an older steward past his prime. Hector went on to become a fellow steward of the drowned, sailing the seas, protecting ships from the same fate that befell his parents. One day, a group of pirates captured him and stuck him in the upstairs closet of a seaside cottage, held prisoner for a week until the early crew of the Bearded Dragon found him. A crew that Hector has stood fiercely by ever since.
Gro Kadag was born and raised in the kingdom of the Red Dawn. His parents, Shior and Calabax, and siblings and fellow orcs were brutal fighters, taught to hone their aggression in battle against their enemies. Grau grew to become the tallest and burliest of his family, and one of the largest offspring of the Red Dawn. A capable fighter with a gargantuan size, a towering stature, and mammothian teeth that would make any regular human quite intensely shit their pants. Through his straight, raven black hair parts at the middle, a real charmer. He was inducted into the Black Blood clan and went on many adventures. As time passed, the clan would realize something about Gro that infuriated them. He was a sweetheart. He would frequently gaze upon beautiful natural flora and fauna, would resist killing any individuals who wouldn't directly harm him. Whereas all the other orcs were intelligent in livelihood skills and battle practices and tactical knowledge, Gro was a simpleton. His sheer size and strength was enough for him to push through any obstacles presented to the Black Bloods. But even as the rest of the Black Bloods slowly turned their backs on him, Gro was too simple to see it. To him, They were his family, so he stayed with them until one blissful morning when Grohl woke to emptiness surround him. The Black Bloods were gone, and Grohl hadn't the slightest clue of where to go. Only a name. Bartholomew. Unfortunately, for Grohl, he couldn't figure out how to pronounce it. He wandered the countryside finding people who at first rejected him and were scared of him, but would warm up to him through his politeness and simplicity. After many months of wandering and helping, 3 years later, Grohl would eventually make it to the city of Benict in the kingdom of Prostab, where he befriended a total bar owner, Rue, and would help her with chores and errands. The city of Benict would see that Grohl was an enigma, a condemnation of their treatment of orcs, but some would have prejudices too deep to set aside. Grohl left the city, joining the crew of the Bearded Dragon to chase the thrill of battle and to make a new name for himself. With a new crew, a new weapon, and a new cause at his side, Grohl's path wanders far away from those who once threw insults his way, even if he was too simple to understand them anyways.
Adrian Drake was born and raised in Winterstone. Being the second son of the Admiral of the Kingdom, Adrian always lived a life of adventure and wanted to be out at sea like his father. He and his brother lived their early lives with a nanny, though Adrian snuck out multiple times into the slums, getting into trouble with his best friend Karn. Later on in his years, he was hired onto the Agalita, a trade ship with an older captain Adrian saw as second father. During one voyage at sea, an Asmer named Ariel came aboard trying to get Adrian to do a quest for his god, and would not leave until he did so. While the two were below deck in a heated argument, the Agalita was suddenly assailed by pirates, an all-out assault, which was suddenly disrupted as a bolt of lightning rent the sky, sinking the ship and all aboard it. Adrian woke up in the middle of the sea alone, at least that's what he thought, until days later, a dry voice echoed through his head. The self-same voice of the Asmer he previously encountered. Drake made his slow way back to port, where he and Ariel now share the same body, though not, perhaps, the same goals.
I do not recall when exactly I became what we are today, but here be what I will share. Little John Jack grew up in the slums of Smiva, me mama telling me the stories of Klek, the devourer of the treasonous, he who swallows the liars and cheats. Never understood why nobody heeded the warnings. We couldn't even trust our leaders, those meant to protect us. Instead, the Baron took me mother from me. I found a new home in the old elf tree, and found a new family all my own. Then he took that away too. I escaped the town with nothing but my clothes and a few friends. And me brother in all but blood, I would have followed him to the ends of the world. And I did. And we were free. But the world took that from me too. Han, my brother, he sold me out for wealth and power. Under the thumb of the Baron of Bimbolo, the very man who took everything from me, I found if you take enough from a man, you make a monster. With nothing of the little boy in me left, the fish from my mama's stories spoke to me. I thought it a mere illusion, but it delivered us to new friends and freedom. I know it take more than fables to fix the wrongs of the world. It'd be taken more than the blood, sweat, and tears that has already been taken. It be taking something more. With me crew, we be feeding the fishes.
Kidru grew up in a rowdy family. As the eldest of 5 children, he always hoped to keep an eye on his siblings. It wasn't easy growing up in the harsh cold of Satpia, but he was happy. Playing with siblings, ice fishing with his mom, and hearing stories of Satpia's heroics and grandeur from his father. Kid and his brothers, namely Kaivan and Kalir, loved these stories, and grew up wishing to join the military themselves one day. And when Kid was only 19 years old, that opportunity would come right to his village. Kid spent the following years of his life proving his bravery and his skill, and rising up the ranks of Satpia. But in doing so, he saw the nation for what it truly was, and began to doubt the actions he'd taken under a banner he once thought was great. It wasn't until the age of 42, 23 years later, that Kid met Jesse, a young Aarakocran boy he met in a village he was sent to enlist from. A young boy that reminded him of himself. That was his final straw. Rather than setting Jesse down the path he walked himself, he took the boy and they fled into the wastes. They wandered through a barren environment, hungry, thirsty, and left with nothing but time to think about the years wasted and the people he took advantage of. That the country he grew up idolizing and serving was corrupt. Kidru was ready to give up on himself, but he was driven by a responsibility to Jesse, to get him to safety. Crossing the waste, the two stumbled into the city of Zukamel, where they were discovered and rescued by the priests of the Albetic Temple. The priests were very welcoming and provided both shelter and care to Kid and Jesse. While the pair recovered, they were introduced by the priest to the Lambent Three, the moon deities, as well as their teachings. The serene grace of the Sapphire Queen, the strength wielded by the Copper Princess, and the willingness to change, championed by the Shattered Prince, which Kid resonated with strongest of all. After months of self-doubt, that message drove Kid to remake himself as a missionary, a wanderer, and a tool of this change, leading him into new lands, new struggles, and a new path to redeem Tupenia, as his gods and he seek to create.